Hurricane-Ike aims for Texas. Thousands and thousands of cars and trucks streamed inland, and chemical companies and refineries shut down their plants and were trying to prepare as a gigantic Hurricane-Ike took aim directly at the heart of the U.S. refining industry and threatened to send a wall of water crashing toward the city of Houston. Almost 1 million people along the Texas coast were ordered to evacuate ahead of the storm, which was expected to strike late Friday night or early Saturday morning, but in a calculated risk aimed at avoiding total gridlock or chaos and confusion. Authorities told most people in the nation's fourth largest city to just stay home or just to hunker down. Hurricane-Ike was steering almost directly for the city of Houston, where giant skyscrapers, the nation's biggest refinery, and NASA's Johnson Space Center lie in areas prone or vulnerable to wind and floodwaters. Forecasters say the storm is likely to come ashore as a Category 3 with powerful winds up to 130 miles per hour. But this storm is so big, so huge, twice as big as a typical hurricane. At least, it could inflict a punishing blow even in those areas that do not get a direct hit. Forecasters warn that because of Ike's huge size, unusual size, and the state's shallow coastal waters, it could possibly produce a surge or wall of water at least 20 feet high or higher, and waves of perhaps 50 feet. Yes, 50 feet tall. It could also dump 10 inches or more of rain, flooding many areas. Yes, it's a very big storm, Texas Governor Rick Perry said. In his words, "I cannot overemphasize the danger that is now facing us. It's going to do some major damage, and it's going to knock out power. It's going to cause massive flooding. Certain death if residents stay." Perhaps the most serious, sternest warning came from the National Weather Service for residents along a Gulf-facing stretch of Galveston Island. Under mandatory evacuation orders, people ignoring the orders in single-family 1- or 2-story homes will face certain death, read the statement Thursday from the local weather forecast office. This is going to be a really big, bad storm. Hurricane warnings were in effect over a 400-mile stretch of coastline from south of Corpus Christi to Morgan City, Louisiana. And tropical storm warnings extended south, almost to the Mexican border, and east to the Mississippi-Alabama line, including, of course, the city of New Orleans. In Surfside Beach, a coastal community approximately 40 miles south of Galveston, the police chief was so concerned or worried that the entire force planned to leave and ride out the storm inland. He said, "I don't have a crystal ball, but if I did, I think it would tell me a very sad story. And that story would be that we are faced with devastation of a catastrophic range or scale," said Chief Randy Smith. "I think we're going to see a storm like most of us have never seen before." Most of the evacuations were limited to sections of Harris County outside Houston, as well as nearby Galveston Bay and a few other areas. But the 2 million residents of the city itself and 1 million, at least 1 million in other areas of the county, were asked to remain at home. We are still saying, please shelter in place, or to use the Texas expression, hunker down, said Harris County Judge. Said the Harris County Judge, the county's chief administrator. For the vast majority of people who live in our area, just stay where you are. The winds will blow fiercely, and they'll howl, and we'll get an awful lot of rain. But if you lose power and need to leave, well, I guess you can do that later. Supposedly. So, trying to avoid panic and chaos. Authorities are hoping to avoid the panic of 3 years ago, when evacuations ordered in advance of Hurricane Rita sent millions of people running away, frightened, and causing a monumental traffic jam so big that cars ran out of gas or overheated. Well, this kind of happened again in some kind of way. Well, it is. Anyway, ultimately, the evacuation proved even deadlier than the storm itself, a disaster unto itself. This time, traffic was bumper to bumper on the freeway leading away from Galveston immediately after the evacuation order. But by late afternoon, many evacuees had made it past Houston to the north, but it's kind of slow going, bumper to bumper traffic, kind of just crawling along. And just in time, waves were already covering the beach or flooding the beach on one end of Galveston Island. Yes, Hurricane-Ike is coming to America, right into the heart of the refineries. Yes, some gas stations began running out of fuel, but fuel trucks were called in to replenish them. Houston Mayor Bill White said one of the lessons of the Rita mess was that too many people fled who didn't need to. Instead, he asked residents to just stay home, board up your windows, protect your home. Just think how your barbecue could become a flying object, he said. That and many other things. No, they can't evacuate 5 million people properly. Not in time. Not in an orderly fashion, because that's how many people could possibly be affected, if not more, some kind of way. And where will 5 million people go? Where will they evacuate to? No, they don't really have a plan for something like this, do they? Not a very good one. NASA even closed the Johnson Space Center, including mission control. On watch in oil fields, the oil and gas industry was closely watching the storm because it is headed straight, directly, for the nation's biggest complex of refineries and petrochemical plants. The upper Texas coast accounts for at least 1/5 of all U.S. refining capacity. Ike is so huge, taking up nearly 40% of the Gulf. The National Hurricane Center said tropical storm force winds of at least 39 miles per hour or higher extended across more than 550 miles and growing, and hurricane force winds of at least 74 miles per hour or more stretched for at least 230 miles. A typical hurricane or storm has tropical storm force winds stretching only 300 miles. So, this hurricane is almost twice as big as they usually are. It's just a great big one. Because of its great size, storm surge and gigantic waves are the biggest risk. The larger the storm, the longer it hits, and the higher waves can build. And because the water is so shallow along the Texas coast, the waves pile up, creating a very big storm surge. We're not talking about gently rising water here. We're talking about a great big wall of water or surge that will come into your homes. And, yes, it's coming. This is not a warning. This one will do some damage. And these are more signs of the end times transition days. And there are many signs.